you're not going to be competitive, right? Because it's just that these tools, it's like everything else, right? These tools exist now. They're not going to go away. They're only going to get better. And adopting them early and knowing how to use them efficiently is going to make you so much more productive, faster, and more powerful as one developer than anyone not using these tools.
Yeah, and the speed at which it's progressing is
It's
ridiculous. Like
insane.
just in the past like 6 months of AI, what it's been able to do is insane. Because I remember we were talking about this stuff probably 6 months ago, and we were saying, yeah, AI
AI.
can't code, and then now we're like, uh-oh, AI can code.
We know what the biggest change was, I think, was that they've started to allow you to add more context, external context that's
Mhm.
not pre-built into the system, which is like a huge help. Because like I noticed that like even when I was using ChatGPT, like now you can like add like PDFs or like websites and stuff. You get way better responses by, tweaking those prompts and using good information and context.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
is overwhelming
Yeah, it is
how much
very
stuff to have.
it is very overwhelming, and the speed at which these tools is coming out is overwhelming too. However, I think we have to start adopting this because if we don't, it's going to move so fast that you're going to get left behind.
Have one caveat too here
Yeah.
is like I know for like a lot of new developers, and we've talked about this a lot, right? It can be both a huge, huge like bonus to your coding ability, your learning speed, everything, just make you, basically grow a lot faster as a developer and more powerful. It can also be a problem. So there
Yeah.
is a balance you have to kind of strike, I think, without relying on it so much, especially when you're learning to make sure you know what the heck is going on with the code and everything. But once you get to that point where you do know what's going on, it just is incredibly powerful to have because you just don't have to code all the BS boilerplate stuff anymore. And it's almost like you have a partner to code with.
Yeah. Like I have to say, give credit where credit is due. One of our students, Randall Lapointe, has really dug deep into
Yeah.
AI and has helped us sort of open our eyes to this. So just shout out to him. But there is so much that you can really do with this, and I think one of the things that I've seen as the largest benefit for me, at least, is we've been using this tool called Cursor AI, which is basically, we're going to talk a little bit about it, and I can even preview some of it to show you guys. But we've been, I've been using this, for the past week or so,
So have I,
and
yeah. It's
yeah, and
awesome.
basically what it is it replaces VS Code. Now it's built on top of VS Code, so it's very easy to understand if you're brand new to this tool. It's basically VS Code, but it has AI built into it. But there's some really cool features about it. One of the things that I hate about using like ChatGPT is that you can give it code snippets, and it does a great job of, uh, you know, like helping you with your code, but it doesn't have context of your entire code base. And so that's one of, I think, the best parts of Cursor is that it can see your entire code base, and it understands the context of the questions that you're asking it. Now obviously the more context you provide, the better answers you're going to get. But the other thing I used it for recently, which I thought was really cool, is there's really two modes. There's like an agent mode, which can code for you, and then there's an ask mode, which is meant to be basically what you were talking about, Danny, where like it's going to help you in your planning and things like that. And so the other day I was like messing around with it. I had an idea for a project, and I basically typed in like one sentence, and said, this is what I want to build. And before I knew it, it had created an entire development plan. It had selected, the tech stack. It had built out a plan week by week of everything I should be working on. And then from there, I could, edit it, say, hey, I don't want that in my tech stack. I want this instead. And it built this amazing plan. What are you going to say, Danny?
I was gonna say, no, that's one of the really powerful features, I think, especially for new developers.
Yeah.
Because one of the hardest things when you're new is like, it's fine learning to code and all, and like, but you have to learn a lot besides coding as well, like how to plan, how
Yeah.
to organize a project, how a project works from start to finish, all design, all this other stuff. And that feature of planning for you and then being able to go through and edit just speeds up that process so much. And it provides really good plans. Like
Yeah. It's
they're
crazy
really
good.
solid. So if you don't
Yeah.
know yeah, how to do it, it's amazing. It's like incredible.
Yeah, and if you are new to coding, so here's a caveat, right? Is I've seen a lot of videos about Cursor in particular where people are like, I built an entire SaaS application on my
Yeah.
own. And then I saw a meme yesterday where basically somebody did exactly that. They're like, I don't know how to code at all. I built my entire SaaS application using Cursor. And then like literally there's like comments below it, and he's like, guys, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden like everything's broken because people were basically, he's not a developer and he
Yeah.
doesn't understand how these things work together. And the app that he made was horribly insecure. And then he went out there and basically told the world that my app is horribly insecure. And then people started hacking him, right? Or his
Yeah.
app basically. So, you have to understand the larger picture. And this is what we talk a lot about in Code Noobs, is just that you have to understand the bigger picture of what's going on behind the scenes. You don't really need to know that much of the syntax anymore, right? In fact, I think the way development is going to go in the future is that you don't need to know the granular syntax of everything. What you do need to know is how these systems work together and how to keep them secure. Go ahead, Danny.
I was thinking about that a lot this week, and I do think that's probably where we're headed, right?
Yeah.
Is we're headed to a future where this AI is going to get powerful enough that with existing technologies, it'll be able to do most of the work for you.
Yeah.
But where developers are going to come in is basically like project managers. They're going to be checking it for security, tweaking the design, doing things like that.
Yeah.
But that's going to require a lot of broad knowledge
Yeah.
about
Exactly.
how stuff works, why it's important to have this or that thing, whatever. And I think it's interesting to think about it that way. And that's why it's also important to get in on this stuff early so you understand it. Understand its uses and its limitations,
Yeah.
and then you'll be better equipped to use it moving forward.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point too, right? Is that it does have limitations. So don't expect it to be able to just code like on its own, right? It needs a human to basically interact, because it is going to like it's an iterative process, just like coding is, but it's just a little bit faster because you can have a computer write the code for you, which is like significantly faster, right?
I totally get to it. If I didn't know how to code and I downloaded Cursor, I would have been blown away too. I'm like, look, I built a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you don't know what's going on, right? And it just seems like it's right
Yeah.
if you don't understand it. So I get why people do that, but it's also really dangerous.
Yeah. So, like, that's a good point, right? Because the first thing that I ever did when I like used Cursor was I asked it to just spin up like a Next.js project, and it's what's interesting is the code ran, but it didn't run correctly, and that's because Tailwind just updated their to their latest version, and there's breaking changes, right? The way that you actually import Tailwind into your project changed. And so the project that I created, it ran, but no Tailwind was actually being applied. And so if I wasn't a developer, I would look at that and be like, huh, I'm not getting any errors. It seems to be working, but it's not giving me the output. And then I would probably be lost at that point. Whereas as a developer, I looked at it and I said, yeah, there's no Tailwind. Like,
Clearly, there's no
clearly.
CSS being applied,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
So then I looked, and I was like, oh, they're using the old way of Tailwind. And, this is one of the interesting things is that, like, we understand this as developers, but large language models, they don't store memory, right? They're just sort of regurgitating what they think the next likely word would be in the sentence, right? More or less. So
that is actually, yeah, that's what they're doing. They
yeah,
pick the
I
next
mean,
best word.
that's like
I mean, it's
simplified.
it's a very simplified,
Yeah.
idea. But
That's
yes,
what I'm
that is
trying to
what
say.
they're doing.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it's doing. So it's looking at, it's been trained on all these old documentation, and now it's just regurgitating that basically, and it's not working properly. So it is important that you, as the developer, are able to check everything that's going. Now, there is something called YOLO mode in Cursor, which is kind of cool. So you can like prompt it and it'll just code. Like normally you have to accept everything that you want it to do, but you can turn on YOLO mode and just let it code, but you're going to run into more problems, obviously. So
Yeah, I do like the agent mode's really cool because it codes for you.
yeah,
And I found that like when I don't use it often, but when I do use that, I like going through each step and accepting because I can review it in pieces
Yes.
rather than all at once, which tends to be a lot easier and make changes or decisions as you go. But yeah, I mean, I was just blown away with one, how easy it is to use. Because if you're already using VS Code, it's like basically no switch,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it was a one click to import all your settings and everything. You're good to go. All your extensions, it's super
Yep.
easy. And then on top of that, like it's very familiar and we've already used AI anyway, so there's not much difference there, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's a very easy way to interact with it because it's in your development environment. It's not external to it.
Yeah.
And I think as Lapointe pointed out too, you can even add context like docs from the web
Yeah.
and stuff for more up-to-date stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah,
That's really
exactly. I
cool.
was just gonna say that too, which is really cool. Is you can add, uh, links to specific documentation, and then when you do prompts, you can use the @ symbol to add context. So you can say like, based on, at this documentation, do whatever, right? Which makes your prompts better. The other cool thing is that you can use different AI agents. From everything that I've seen, Claude 3.5 Sonnet is like the best one to use. But you can put in basically any AI
I
that's out
found
there.
too, it does depend on like what you're working on.
Yeah,
Like I tend to find that Gemini, their pro version is better for Google oriented stuff, which makes
yeah.
sense.
It's made by
And
Google.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. Like, but I have found that like certain ones, and I think that's part of it too, is playing around with this stuff to understand like which models actually are best for what you're doing, what makes sense. Because some are really good at design too and planning.
yeah,
Others are better for coding. Like, and it's figuring that out is good because you can get the best results from it
yeah. And it's
quickly.
awesome because you can basically switch between them very easily. Um, when you're making prompts, you can switch between different AI models, and you can switch between the two modes, agent and ask mode. So typically ask mode is for, planning, like, what am I going to do in this project? Helps you like brainstorm. And then agent actually can interact with your code. It can write code in your code base. And it can even, what's crazy is it can even like run terminal commands, right? So you can be like,
Oh
hey,
yeah.
install Framer Motion, and then you just one click and it installs, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, all that to say, I think, if you are sort of at the point where you're trying to learn development or you're just getting started, this is like, I wish there was a tool like this, because this is like one of the best things that you could do to learn. And here's why
Oh, dude,
is,
we would have learned so much
yeah,
faster if this existed when we started.
literally you can use Cursor as your own like personal coding mentor. So let's say, for example, you're absolutely brand new to software development. You can go ahead and download Cursor. It's installed as a software on your computer. Open it up and just open the ask prompt and just say, hey, I'm trying to learn HTML. What's a good project to start with? And then have it explain to you like what it's doing. And it automatically does this, which is kind of nice too. It explains to you everything it's doing. But I mean, you can learn so much faster because you have basically an interactive AI and code editor all in one.
I was gonna say that's the beauty, right? Is it's interactive. Your code's right there, so you're not switching between screens, like forgetting what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you ask it, the nice thing is you can interact with it the whole time, right? So like
Yeah.
if it explains something, you're like, well, why is that doing that, right? Just ask, and it'll give you a really good explanation. It'll help you learn these broader concepts as well as the syntax, all in one. Like it is totally, I think, yeah, it is going to change completely, like the landscape for development. I mean, it has changed a lot in the past 5 years. It's going to keep changing, but yeah, it moves
Yeah.
so quickly.
So you guys want to try using Cursor and play around with it? Shall we?
Sure.
Shall we try to create something? Let's do it. You preface. I'm gonna try this, and we'll see if it works.
Fingers crossed it'll
Yeah,
help.
right. It
Fingers
doesn't always
crossed
work.
you can
It's
still
AI,
hear
right?
us, but I think you should be able to.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
try
I think
it.
I think you're right too, Randall. Like it's this AI gives us this ability for personalized learning that never existed before. I think accessibility to education of all sorts is just gonna, when people embrace it, is gonna change dramatically.
Plus, you can just start building your own projects so much more quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Let us see. All right. Can you guys see that? Let us know if you can see that. You should have.
We can't.
Well, you can't.
Oh, you're okay. Well, no, I mean I can't on YouTube either.
It takes a
Oh wait,
second.
now I
Right?
can. Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
There's a
Jeez.
delay. I know. So, yeah. So this is basically Cursor. I mean, I know you're not seeing a lot. Hopefully, you guys can still hear us. This is basically Cursor. There's nothing special to it. It looks very similar to VS Code. You have everything you normally would. The left
It is
side
VS
here-
Code.
Yeah, it
It's
basically
just VS
it
Code
is
with
VS
with
Code.
AI agents. Yeah.
Yeah. So the left side here is like your file explorer. I just created a new file called Livestream. We're going to play around with that. And then on the right side, you have this chat window, which basically gives you access to AI, right? And you can select which models you want, right? You have a couple presets, but there's actually more that you can use. And then you have different modes. So there's like agent, ask, and edit mode. And so, like I said before, agent is for actually like writing code. Ask is for, like brainstorming. So let's say I want to create a modern web developer portfolio. And bear in mind that we're doing like a live demo of this, so it's probably not going to work well. That's just how these tend to go.
Well, and I mean, no, that's a good point, right? It's like this is new. It is really powerful. It is not perfect.
It is not.
But it's going to get better. And I think this is
Yeah.
the important point, right? Is adopting early because it's going to get better. It's already crazy powerful.
This
you
is the
need to-
worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah, exactly, right? This is literally the worst
Yeah.
it's going to be.
So you can hear, but I sound like Darth Vader. Oh well, deal with it. That's my natural voice, is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So,
Luke, I am your father.
I mean, I'm putting in like the dumbest prompt I possibly could. I want to create a modern, like this isn't like well thought out or anything like that, but
That's true.
use Astro. All right, so very quickly already we're getting like a development plan. So content planning, professional summary, skills inventory, resume integration, design, wireframing, technical setup, right? It even gives us like approximate days for this, tech stack. Right, so it's really detailed, and I can edit this and prompt it more for.
You know what I like too about it on a side note too, is it
Yeah.
also is because you're using this, if you're coding on this a lot, it's also aware of what you tend to use too.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it does keep that in its context. So like it knows like I prefer next or I prefer this. So it's gonna, recommend that where possible anyway, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's do this. So, I don't really have to dig into that. You can keep prompting this to like.
Well, and if say you were new too, right? Like what's cool is you could ask questions about all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
well, what's responsive design if you don't know what that is? What does that mean?
Exactly.
Why should I start with it? Like you'll get good responses for everything. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's a great point, right? And so that's something that you totally should do. If you read through this and you're like, I don't understand anything, you can just, grab a piece of it and say, explain this, and it'll explain everything for you, which is really nice. So let's switch over to the agent, and let's say, let's start with a fresh install of Next.js with Tailwind. And this will probably produce some errors because, like we mentioned before, Tailwind is using a newer version. So as a developer, you do have to have an eye on this too. So let's see what we get. We're just going to start going through this, and it's going to take some time to generate. So it's going to generate the command, and then, so it's doing npx create next app at latest in this folder using TypeScript, Tailwind, ESLint, app router, source directory. Let's see. So we're going to run it. So I was just accepting that so that it continues. And there we go. It's already populating everything in our folder. Still running. And there we go. So now, let's see what it's doing.
On a side note, you can even talk to this too if you want to dictate instead of
Yeah.
typing, which is amazing too. You don't even have
It's
to
kind of
type.
crazy. Yeah.
It's gonna be sitting around like the end of Wally, you know,
Yeah.
on floating couches.
Exactly. Drinking soda. So there we go.
Super fat.
We can oops. Here we go. Here's our app. Okay. So it just installed boilerplate, but now let's see if we can let me close this real quick. And let's see if we can like change some of this, okay? So let's see. Oops. I'm going to actually adjust this a little bit so that we can see what we're
What was that?
actually
What happened in your terminal there? Was that dependency?
I didn't see that. What?
There's a bunch of like the
D.
square brackets and D's,
Oh,
probably
it's
some
because I
escape
pressed
character or something.
Oh, you
click
press.
instead of command click, and so
Okay,
it just
okay.
spazzed out for a little bit. But it's
Oh,
all
that's
good.
all right. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
That happens sometimes. You just ignore it. Anyway, all right. So let's look in here. I mean, we have our boilerplate set up. So now let's say like create a simple developer portfolio homepage. So it's creating several sections: hero, about, skills, projects, contact, and it's going to use Tailwind. Now, I'm curious, did it actually install Tailwind correctly? It did. Look at that. So this is using...
Well, Next sets the tailwind up correctly. So using that command, it should have set it
that's
up
true,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Now at least it does with Tailwind 4.
So a couple of times when I was using this, I think it was because I was trying to do like a Vite install with React, and it was because it doesn't install with Tailwind. It was trying to do the install separately, and then it was failing.
Yeah. You know what's cool about this too is I think like this is gonna free up like new developers and experienced developers. It's gonna free them up to explore and learn more.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have more time to do other stuff rather than just typing out. I mean, because boilerplate takes a long time, and it's stuff you do every time you start a project. Like, you know, how many times have you started next project where you have to go in and delete all the stuff out of the public folder, delete the page, like do all this stuff.
I mean,
it's like
it's the same thing over and over. And honestly, in most cases, right? Like when I'm using this, there are times where I'm like, well, it's taking some time to generate this code. Like right now, right? It takes a few seconds to actually like work through and generate this. And I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, it would have taken me like way longer to just type all that out.
Even if you knew exactly what you're doing, just the act of typing, it's going to take longer than a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
You know?
So let's take a look at this. So basically what I asked it to do is just build the homepage. So now it's providing, a bunch of new code for me, which you can see highlighted in green. I can accept or reject this code. I can also like accept files individually, or I can go down here and accept everything. But one thing is it's trying to use React icons. So I have to run this command, right? And that way I have it installed. I'm just going to go ahead and, well, let's let it continue working. So we have a public directory. Let's just accept these changes for now and open up npm run dev. Just see what we got so far.
What's also cool too,
So,
if you were learning
pretty
this also
crazy. Look at that. I mean, that's like in a fraction of a second, right? We have a pretty nice looking, responsively designed developer. I mean, when we were talking about AI a few months ago, we were like, we couldn't even do this.
No, it wasn't even possible. Look at that.
Not that quality, but we're not far off from like a really
That's
nice
not bad though at all.
That's better than a lot of websites that are still up. Like if
Yeah.
somebody hasn't updated their website in 10 years, that's better than a lot of websites
That looks
you'll
really,
find.
dude, that looks really good for what it is. I mean, and that spun that up in a couple minutes
That was
total.
yeah. I mean, that was 5 minutes.
This is the other thing though. If this is the thing I wish, oh my God, if this was out when we were learning, like if you were brand new,
Yeah.
just the process of doing this gives you so much information of how do I set up a website? How do I do this correctly? What does
Yeah.
it look like? All this stuff is just you can then go through and be like, okay, how did it make this centered here? How did this, all that
Plus,
stuff becomes important to think about. And I think this is like incredible how it can help you.
plus it
Yeah.
demystifies frameworks.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
remember, like you learn HTML, you learn CSS, you are intimidated by JavaScript, and you think you're never going to learn it, and you don't even bother getting to frameworks. And this, you just like, you literally just build a website with a web framework, and
In
that's
minutes.
it. Simple.
Yeah.
Minutes.
You know, one of the other things that I really like about this is that AI, generally speaking, uses best practices for development. And I think that was one of the
Yeah.
things that I struggled the most with when I was first learning was, okay, like I know how to work in React, but there's so many, especially in JavaScript, because it's a very unopinionated language. There's so many different ways that you can set up a project or accomplish the
Well,
same like
and it's
task.
confusing, right? Because there's a lot of different there's a
Yeah.
lot of different best practices and like and figuring them out is hard. And I think this, yeah, you're right. It does a very good job of
Yeah.
providing quality
And
code. And
and that's what I
yeah,
like, right? Because you can prompt it and say, "Hey, I want to build this." Now, we just did like the most generalized thing and it came out with pretty good results. But you could yeah, like Randall Lapointe saying accessibility too, right? Like it
yeah,
packs in everything that a developer should do. So, number one, if you use this to code, like let's just say this, as a junior developer, any senior developer or company that's looking at your code will be significantly more impressed just because your code is written using best practices, commented, making sure that everything's clean, organized. Go ahead, Danny.
well, well, I was gonna say when you start out, like when you're first developing, like the last thing on your mind is accessibility.
Yeah.
The last thing on your mind is like, you have comments all over the place and stuff because you're learning and it makes total sense and your
Mhm.
stuff's not going to be great. This makes it like you see how to do the stuff right from the beginning and you see better quality stuff and then it's going to run better and it's going to look better for you overall. But
Yeah.
now, like take that site you just created in 2 minutes, right?
Hmm.
You could go back and start tweaking that then and make it look however you want, but you have it
Yeah.
all started. It's all there. Like,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, like one of the things that I saw on, and I'm curious uh, if we can maybe even do this. One of the things that I saw on a preview was somebody was just like, hey, create a snake game and just put it on this website. And it coded the entire snake game in JavaScript and then injected it into the website in like a matter of a few minutes, which is kind of mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
Because you can basically ask it to do anything coding related, and as long as you have a little bit of oversight, um,
You can do it.
yeah, you can do it. Like, look
It
at this.
also can
I'm
help you see what's possible too, I think. That's the other thing. Because I think one of the things like literally almost everything you can think of is possible in development.
yeah,
And it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes, but there's usually a way to do it. If you think you can do it, there's usually a way you can do it. And this can be really helpful to get there. Especially with like I think because a lot of people as developers too, we struggle like when you're learning with back-end logic and stuff because you can't see it.
yeah,
And this can be a great way to help you work through that and problem solve too and solve complex issues related to like data and data management, stuff like that that you need to work through.
yeah, totally. This is an interesting one too, right? So I kept going a little bit with it. I really just accepted the next command, which was creating this image, right? It was importing this placeholder image right here. And what I think is really cool is like it knows enough about Next.js to know that you can't just like import an image. You have to set up like these remote patterns. And so it's literally did that just so that we could have this placeholder image here, just to make it look a little bit better. Um,
Yeah, it did.
so yeah, it's
Good job.
pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
nice
Let's see
call,
if we
Randall.
can do like create a snake game and add it to the main homepage. I mean, let's see. We'll see if we can actually break this thing. But yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. I mean, what we're able to do as developers with this, and just this is. I know that this may be scary for some people, and be like, I'm out of a job, but the reality is you're not. This just makes your job that much easier and faster if you know how to use this.
It also just changes the land. I think that's the important thing is it
Yeah.
changes the landscape. Yes, it's different now. You can't just go get a boot camp certificate and expect to get a junior dev job where you're going to learn on the job for years. It's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to like actually, engage with this stuff and utilize it so that you can be effective and build things that are worthwhile and cool and then make a name for yourself.
Yeah. Let's see how we're doing.
Well,
I think
While we're waiting for that, why don't we tell people how they could find out or
yeah.
how they could join our inner circle?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you guys are inside the Facebook group, you may have seen a post earlier this week that we are changing things up inside Code Noobs, and I'm just reading some comments. It says, "I just lost that job," but yeah, we're making some big changes to Code Noobs because we've heard you guys. We hear that you want more access to mentors, you want more access to a community, but you don't want to pay an arm and a leg for it. And we hear you. Learning to code should be as cheap as possible, and you should be able to, learn this stuff based on the effort that you put in. Wow. So it's building Snake as we go. So what we're doing is we're actually switching things up. We are sunsetting the web dev incubator. So if you want to be part of that, I'm sorry, but that program is limited to the people who are currently in it. But we are opening up 2 new options for you guys that are cheaper and give you direct access to us, the founders, as well as the community and other mentors within the community. So we have
There's a cool community of just motivated developers. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing, learning. And everybody's learning from each other. It's great. So yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to build this, right? Because there are so many ways for you to learn code right now, right? You can go on YouTube, which you're currently on, and you can find tons of tutorials. You can go on LinkedIn Learning for $30 a month and get tons of tutorials. You can go on Udemy for $12 and get 6,000 hours of content. You can get every piece of content you ever want to learn about software development pretty much for free or very cheap. But the one thing that you can't get in any of these, including the most expensive boot camps out there, is you cannot get a community, right? A lot of these boot camps, we did it, we know there's people in there, but it's not a community, right? And one of the things that I think about when I think about community is it's not a community unless the people in there know you, know your name, know your life, know who you are, communicate with you regularly, and build a community, right? So you may have people in your boot camp, but they're not really necessarily a community. And so we wanted to build that and offer that for you guys. So here's the deal. So from this point out, you can join us, the 3 founders, as well as everybody in our community directly inside of Telegram in our inner circle. And it's only $27 per month. That's less than $1 per day. You get direct access to expert mentors to ask any questions, whether it's about coding, getting jobs, finding work, whatever it is. We have a bunch of different topics in there as well, right? So that you can see exactly what information you want is right there. We even have learning resources for you. And if you join now, we're offering all of the previous mentoring calls for you. The recordings are what we call our replay vault for you for free as well as part of that. And to top that all off, we're also, for the inner circle, we are offering 7-day free trial. So basically you can join, you don't have to pay a penny for 7 days. You can see exactly what it's all about. Come into the group, introduce yourself, get to know the people inside there, ask as many questions as you want, ask us questions for 7 days for free. And you can see if it's right for you, awesome. Stay in the group, $27 per month, less than $1 per day. You get direct access to us. If not, you can just cancel and you won't be ever charged a penny, right? So that's the inner circle. And then we have a next level up. If you really want access to us, if you really want to take your journey seriously and become a developer, we have the Inner Circle Elite. And basically, the Inner Circle Elite is everything you get inside the Inner Circle, so the private Telegram group, as well as the replay vault, plus 3 Saturdays per month, the first 3 Saturdays of the month. Right after this call, you actually meet with us live on Zoom, and you can ask us questions live. We share, we do motivation, accountability, and code reviews as well. And we also have Randall appoint one of our students who has now become a junior mentor. He's going to be doing code alongs as well. So you can actually code projects with him, myself, Danny, Randall, and ask us questions. And we're going to build more breakout rooms as people join, as they want more content. I know there's people in our program right now who want more information about Python and things like that. So as people join, we'll build more of those breakout rooms. So that's the Inner Circle Elite. And also as part of that, you will also get access to all of our educational content, like all of our coursework that was previously inside the Web Dev Incubator. So if you want access
Code
to that
alongs, things
stuff,
like that. Yeah.
all those code alongs, all that good stuff. And that's only $97 per month. So literally less than $3 a day, or about $3 a day. So we have two options. You can check out more information about them. Just go to www.codenoobs.io and you can see everything on there about these two programs. This is like one of the best opportunities that you're ever going to have to build a developer community. And I promise you, that is the absolute most important thing for your success as a developer. Learning coding, learning syntax, as you can see from today's video, does not mean much anymore, right? But having a community, knowing how to actually engage with people, will find you jobs and get you paid.
It's also, you're also networking with other developers at your level and at different levels in their own journey, doing different things. So you're going to learn about tools that you didn't know existed, how to do things differently. And it's just a good experience for everybody, and you learn so much faster. So I think it's a really good deal. It's a really cool offering. So yeah, I hope we see you guys there.
So you can join us actually today if you want. If you join the Inner Circle Elite, you'll be able to get access directly into the Telegram groups. And you can even join us for today's call directly after this one. With that said, I'm going to YOLO mode it and accept all into our snake game. Let's see if we get any good results. Let's try npm run dev. And it broke. So this is one of the cool things too, right? Is that when things do break, I can literally, there's like a thing that just says add to chat, and I can just say, what's wrong? Question mark. And so it basically threw in like this error. And a lot of times this will just fix itself on its own, but you know, it's debugging, finding the issue, and there you go. It's going to create a modification to the code for us. Just waiting on that. Let's try that. Do we have terminal running? No. All right. npm run dev. Let's see what we got. Oh my God, look at that. We got a snake game. Dude, that's like kind of mind-blowing. Come on. And I can play it too.
Yeah, because just building a snake game is hard enough as it is.
Yeah. Like doing any of it is a lot.
On.
I mean,
like at this point, you should realize that
people don't realize how much it is to do anything.
Not matter that much anymore.
No. Look at that. That is awesome.
Oh my God. All right, before I get stuck playing Snake all day.
All right, we should call it.
Yeah, we gotta go.
So again, if you guys are interested, hang out with us inside the Inner Circle. It's your access directly to us and the other developers inside the community. Thank you guys for tuning in to another Saturday live stream. Sorry for any issues with audio. We'll get that all sorted out as we get better at this YouTube thing. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. If you are inside the Inner Circle, the Inner Circle Elite, I should say, join us in about 15 minutes, and we will post the link in the Telegram group for you there. And with that, thanks for hanging out. Good to see you guys. Happy Saturday, and we'll see